poker is not where you can really make consistent money. If you're playing 1-2 where everybody has $100 and they're taking $5
You're sending your whole stack.
Yeah, after an hour, one stack is entirely raked off the table. So after 8 hours, all the money's gone. The entire table money's gone.
How should somebody go about building their bankroll? Should they play tournaments?
So I get this question all the time. Winning poker a lot of times is a lot of people get very sort of intimidated by.
What is your stance on online poker?
Well, online poker in the US is kind of a weird thing. I mean, it's come back in a limited way now recently, the last few years. Like they have like some states where it's legal, but there's not a whole lot of cross-state liquidity. But that's actually not even the biggest problem now. The biggest problem now is that
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Beyond Ordinary podcast, where we connect with great people doing great things to inspire you to do the same. Now, I got a very special guest with me here with me today. I know I said that about all my guests, but I wouldn't bring them on my show if they wasn't special. And I know we've had, stock players, we've had, consultants, but we got a real gambler here today, one of the top-notch poker players, Bart Hanson. How you doing today, good brother?
I'm doing well, Myles. How's it going?
Good. So, man, I just want to kind of get into, your story about like how you play poker. I know I was actually talking offset with some people talking about, wow, like people actually play poker like for a living and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, like it is a valid form of what's called employment and stuff. And I know you have a great story. So I kind of just wanted to dive right in. I know you went to Syracuse to study journalism, and originally you were going to be a sports journalist. So I kind of wanted to know what happened with that and what made you want to pivot into poker.
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually went to Syracuse because I thought I was going to be a sports broadcaster, and that's what I wanted to do. And so, I went through that and I graduated, and then that was in 2001, I would say. Yeah, I graduated in 2001, so that was a long time ago. And then, after I graduated, I kind of kicked around for about a year, go back and live with your parents, right? I'm an only child, and then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to LA. I didn't know anybody in LA. I'm just going to go out there. I actually started to get more interested in kind of being like a film agent or something like that. Like I still liked broadcasting, but I kind of got into the business side of film, and that's what I thought I was going to do. I had dabbled in some acting. So I just up and moved to Los Angeles in the beginning of 2003. I didn't know anybody. I found a roommate. I moved in with this girl that I found on Craigslist. She ended up being kind of batshit crazy, but it worked out for about a year and a half. But I didn't know anyone, absolutely anyone. And so I got there, and then I kind of hit the streets for one of those Covenant bartender type gigs. And I actually got one of them, which was the craziest, luckiest thing in the world. I actually bartended at Saddle Ranch in Los Angeles and West Hollywood, if people know that. And if anybody's into poker, if you remember, I don't know how old you are out there, but God, it's about 20 years ago, poker, it just became a real big thing because ESPN put the World Series of Poker on ESPN in 2003 for the first time. And what really was differentiate was that you could see the cards. So they had graphics for the whole cards. And the best thing that could possibly have ever happened where this kid from Tennessee, this underdog, he won a seat. It's a $10,000 buy-in. He won a seat on PokerStars for $40. And he got to the end of the tournament and he was heads up. It was one-on-one against this gambler, straight out of Central Casting. His name was Sammy Farha, and the kid was Chris Moneymaker. Sammy Farha with got a cigarette in his mouth, wasn't smoking it, just looked like constant gambler, a professional gambler, right? And the kid beat Sammy Farha. And that was the first year ESPN had done it with whole cards, and poker just blew up at that time, where it was really, you could call it it's kind of like a fad, I would say, for a couple of years, but it was huge.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you, how was poker around? Because I wasn't playing at the time. Yeah. How was the poker scene in the early 2000s when that poker boom happened?
Well, so that's how I got into it, because I hadn't been playing poker. I went out to LA to do entertainment stuff, and I was bartending. But when I always loved gambling though, we used to gamble, play spades and stuff in high school, and a little bit of sports gambling. I used to take sports gambling bets. But now that came out, everybody got into it. You were playing like these tournaments with your friends and stuff. But it just happened to be that LA was actually the best place to be in the world for poker, way even more than Vegas. LA has a robust poker scene. People don't even know that. This goes back to an old movie called like Cincinnati Kid. There's another film in the 70s, but there's been card rooms in LA since the 70s.
Okay.
So to be there at the time and then start get interested into poker, it was just like, that's how I got into it. Right place, right time. I started playing. So I started playing poker like right around that time, 2003, 2004. And it was kind of funny because I ended up working for a casino as what's called like a prop player. So they used to have these gigs. Some of them still do, where a casino actually pays you to play. You have to play with your money, but they pay you to play because they want to fill the game, because the way that they make money is like a game is going and they rake it. Like they take a piece of every pot. So say you have 4 people that want to play, but they don't want to they want to play with a full table. They don't want to play with 4 people. So they have these props. Some people call them like shills, but they're not really shills. So they pay people to be there so that they'll sit down and play, so that they'll have a game. So the casino,
so that other people can lose their money.
Yeah, well, but the house is just taking. You're not playing against the house. The house is just taking their cut each pot. It's called the rake, right?
Yeah.
So they're taking like $5 a hand. But if the game's not going, they're not taking $5 a hand. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I got hired as a prop player, and then literally, like, it was probably one of the first regular live streams of any kind started at this casino in 2005. It was a poker live stream, and like this was way before YouTube, way before, this was like even before like Justin TV, which became Twitch. Like I don't even remember, but I remember the bandwidth costs were like astronomical. Way back then, stuttering, like you couldn't get like a steady stream. But I volunteered because I knew they were doing this. I'm like, oh, I have, communications major. I love poker. I want to be like the commentator for this. So they tried some people out, and then they ended up hiring me and my buddy Dave Tuckman back in 2005. And we used to do a show 4 hours a day, every single day, 5 days a week for like 2 years, 2005 to 2007. So that's kind of like how I sort of like honed my craft in broadcasting and also in poker playing, because I could see everyone's cards. Yeah. So I could see what the good players were doing. So I was instantly one of the best players, like right away, just by commentating. Like I would say like an hour's worth of commentating was like 50 hours worth of playing experience. Just because I could see everybody's cards. So then all of a sudden, like I could win a lot of money in playing poker. I had this gig, and that's kind of like where everything kind of took off. Like, that's how I started in poker, and then poker broadcasting.
Yeah, exactly. And so you had said that just now about poker commentating, that you get like almost like a 10x leverage on that. Can you kind of expand on why, like, I guess watching poker and watching the cards gives you more experience than doing? Because typically, like in anything, like a skill, like the more you do, the more you're going to get out.
Sure.
So it's kind of interesting that.
Well, because when you're playing, right, like you're not commentating or you're not playing on a TV show, you're getting experience, but you don't see what the other people have unless like you go to showdown with them at the end. Meaning like, one guy raises and I call, whether he wins the pot or I win the pot, usually you don't see the cards. Sometimes you do at the end if you go to the end, but a lot of times, especially at the mid to higher stakes, people are winning the pot by betting. Whether it's the guy's folding out his hand, whether you're bluffing, like I bet you don't have a strong enough hand to call, or I'm bluffing you and you still don't have a strong enough hand to call, right? So you fold your hand, right? You don't see what I have. I don't see what you have. So like 70 or 80% of the time in a poker hand, you don't see the cards. And it might even be actually even more than that. Maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of like 2 out of 10 times you might see someone else's cards. But when you're commentating, every hand, you see everyone's cards. Just like when you're watching. But when you're commentating, you have to be a little bit more involved because you're sort of calling the action. So I got to see every single decision that I wouldn't have seen. I would only see like 10 or 20% of the decisions if I was playing at the table. Because you're not seeing the cards. You're at the table.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it's really that much valuable to know what people's cards are.
Yeah, for someone like in the know, absolutely. And we were kind of working through it because like no one really had training or like teaching. Like no one really did teaching. So it almost became a teaching tool. Our commentary almost became a teaching tool So we were kind of working through that where it was like, oh, you're not just telling people like what's happening, but now you've done this long enough.
Analysis.
You can say like, oh yeah, you can say, oh, that's not a good play. This is a good play.
Exactly.
So-
I'm not gonna lie. That's actually how like I started to learn to play, as I was just watching like the poker vloggers like Mariano, Rampage, Brad Owen, and their commentary like was really helpful as opposed to just like, because when you just watch it happen and you just see the cards, it's like okay, but then they're like, okay, I did this because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, oh okay, so that's really dope. But in the early 2000s, there really wasn't very much live streams. Obviously, like YouTube wasn't really a thing.
There wasn't any live streams until that first one, which was called Live at the Bike, which is still kind of around. They've rebranded themselves. But yeah, we started in January of 2005 and went for a couple years, and then they came back. But yeah, had to be on your own. Oh God, I mean, they weren't streaming off their own servers, but there was no like out of the box like thing like now. I mean, it was almost 20 years ago, right? I mean, you couldn't just live stream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So before commentating, like how did you learn? Did you like read books? Did you like go to the casino and just study other players' game? Like how to like outside of just
I did read books. I actually played a form of poker called limit poker, like limit hold'em, which is kind of a form of poker that it's not really on TV that much ever. People don't even probably know what it is. It's kind of like an older school. So I learned books on how to play that. No Limit, which was the popular form, which you'll see on TV now, I hadn't really played that much. So I kind of learned as I went, as I commentated. But those 2 years, after the first year, once I gained the confidence to actually jump in the game, I realized like I was one of the best players. Without even playing with my first hand, I realized I was one of the best players because I had all the experience of seeing all those hands from the good players and from the bad players. So, yeah, I learned from commentating.
That's dope. Let's talk about how like we connected, Bart. You know, so for those of you who don't know, I'm the guy behind the scenes that does all the COP shorts that you guys have seen. And actually, like Bart, you originally, I remember I sent you a message and you said, yeah, I'm not interested. And I was just and I was just like, all right, okay. And then I remember I watched a video that Wolfgang put out about like the shorts and like how that was kind of taking over. And I'm like, you know, shout out to him because I'm not gonna lie, like once he started like making like his shorts, like everybody like started doing it. But then I was like, you know what? I think this would be a good idea. Let me try and like convince him to like do shorts. And but why were you kind of like apprehensive or not like interested at first into doing shorts?
Well, there were two reasons why. The first reason that I knew was, and this was a little bit short-sighted of me because I was thinking of it in terms of like RPM instead of thinking of it in terms of, well, why am I really doing the YouTube? And it's really to get more people for brand recognition. As I was talking about like long form, like 16:9, like widescreen, regular videos, non-shorts, right?
Yeah.
I was saying it's like the RPM's like, 8 or 9. The shorts RPM's like 11 cents.
Yeah.
If you're lucky. Like you need to get like tens of millions of dollars. It's tens of millions of views to ever even like have that. So I knew like right then and there, I was like, well, it's not going to make any money, right? But the thing that actually concerned me the most was that like most of the content that's in poker are like these vloggers, right? Like, and well, they're shooting in widescreen, but it's very easy for them to like shoot like with their phone too, like if they want to do a short. But we were just doing static,
like calling shit.
long form, like widescreen. I didn't want to do. And then when we started talking, I was like, shorts is a whole game where you got to like make very, very consistent content, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do like 30 pieces of new content vertically unrelated to call-ins. I didn't have it. Like it wouldn't be worth it for me. So I didn't think that our call-ins could be made into shorts really effectively. I was just like, it's not going to work because like the graphics like on the screen, the timing. The editor would have to know poker. How this was the first thing. I was like, how are you like me and Ryan, who works for me, like we're like, how is he gonna know like how to
like what to do?
Like how is he gonna know what the best minute is? So we were like, but then I came to the decision, I'm like, I think you said like try me for like a few months. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try. But I'm telling you, nothing to do with you. I didn't have high expectations. I didn't think it was going to work because of those challenges. But it did. I always tell people for Myles, I'm like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like when I'm telling people about shorts, I'm saying like on a scale of 1 to 10, like I give him a 20 because he does such great things with the sound effects, picking the best part of the hand. I mean, that was what my main concern was like, well, even if you did like really good editing and making like a widescreen into a vertical and make it look nice and stuff, like if I still had to feed you like what was going to be the best part of this on every video, that would take too much of your time. So, but yeah, man, it's worked out. And you know, what has happened is that it's driven a lot of views. It's a lot of short views, right? And it's driven a lot of subscribers. Like I got my 100,000 plaque, you know, which is cool. But I think, you know, whether or not, because the art, you know, it doesn't make a ton of money, like, right? You still see those shorts, but what I have noticed is that like brand recognition, vertical videos, like in the fact that we can like, you know, put it into not just YouTube shorts, like TikTok, like Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. I can, you know, we have more subscribers than we ever have, and the retention level is higher. And the only thing that we're really doing differently is shorts. And I think it's just a huge part of that. Because it's like like people are always on their phone, and that's what they're seeing like over and over again. It's just so funny because like even we were all going back and forth. We were like, what's the difference between like an Instagram reel, an Instagram video, a Facebook reel, a Facebook
I remember
video,
that. Yeah,
a Facebook story,
a post, a
like,
reel.
Oh god, yeah.
Still going back and forth. But yeah, shorts brand recognition is just major key. And for, you know, people who want to try this out for their channel, like you're actually the first person that I started posting on Facebook for. And now I make Facebook basically mandatory, because the thing about Facebook is that you could run retargeting ads to the people from your Facebook page. So after they watch your shorts like every single day for like 3 months, 6 months, whatever, build that audience up. Then when you finally hit the retargeting ads and you make, you know, hey, we're doing some sort of promotion, they're gonna buy. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much, you know, what happened with the holiday sale. Like I think this next year, like
Black Friday,
Black Friday. Because
because
like the Facebook, I don't know if you've seen it recently, but like the Facebook like is still like you know, it's almost doubled since we started.
And by the way, too, also Facebook's got some stuff like there's ads on Reels on Facebook. Because I don't think you make money on ads on Reels and Instagram. I don't think you actually get money for that. I think they changed it. But there's ads on Reels for Facebook. Like we're making like $1,000 a month on Facebook just reposting stuff. There's money. There's like money to be made on Facebook. It's just like, I mean, not
big
ton,
money,
but I mean,
it's something.
Exactly. I mean, remember we turned it on. I'm like, oh shit. Like,
I do remember that. You were let's just turn it on. I think like all I had to do was just hit post, like like posted a reel and then posted a post.
Right.
Because I want to call everything different.
You know, and it's like, you know, another $1,000 a month, you know, to pay for, you know, upgrading and stuff like that. And again, like the goal for us isn't to make money off of, you know, different creators have different goals, but it's more for brand recognition and stuff. But the whole consuming of like vertical video is it's just interesting that like, you know, what you have sort of shown me is that there is a way, I think, where if you're a creator that does make like standard, like widescreen content, you can repurpose that for shorts if it's done well. You don't have to do your own new content for shorts.
It definitely depends on like what type of channel you have. Because if you have like a talking head channel, it's way easy. But if you're going, I don't know, like doing some sort of like walking up to people and like recording and stuff, you know, like IRL content like that, that's a little harder to like make shorts. You can do it, but it's like it has a different finesse to it that you're gonna have to do.
Right.
But yeah, definitely.
But it's just hard to like if you're doing like unique content for shorts and you think the best way to do it is like post once or twice a day. That's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And I remember we were trying to get you to do like twice a day, and you're like, oh, let's just do one a day. I'm like, hey, as long as you just do it consistently, because that's what you got to do. You got to feed the beast. Because I remember like it took us like 15 or 20 days to even get because we started the TikTok from scratch.
Right.
So it took us like 15 posts, 15 days
Yeah,
to get our first subscriber
Yeah.
or follower on TikTok. So
Yeah.
yeah. Don't sleep on YouTube Shorts. Moral of the story. Yeah. And then do you have a background in blackjack as well, or did you?
No, I don't have a background in blackjack. I've just, a lot gambling. A lot of times people get intimidated. It's a lot of arithmetic odds.
Okay.
A lot of people get very sort of intimidated by percentages, equities. It's not complex math, whether it's blackjack or poker, but it's a lot of percentages, and it's a lot of sort of understanding what odds are. Like, a lot of people don't even know what odds are. Like, what are the odds? Like when you flip a coin, like what are the odds? Like, if I'm going to flip a coin with you, Myles, like, a fair bet is you put up $100, I put up $100 because it's 50-50, right?
yeah.
The odds of that is 1-to-1. People don't think about it, meaning 1-to-1, like you're putting up 100 to win 100. Now, if I've got like 3 water bottles here and I tell you one of the water bottles is going to have like a ink mark underneath, you got to pick the one, right? You have 1 out of 3 chance of picking the correct one. The odds, what you should be paid is actually 2-to-1. You have a 1 in 3 chance, 33% chance, and your odds should be 2-to-1, meaning like if you bet like 50, you should win 100 if you select correctly. A lot of people don't understand all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
yeah,
When I first started playing, I was just like, I got a good hand, shit.
Pot
Like, you know what I mean?
odds, math, yeah, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, nah, it's like, especially like in the heat of the game, like you're sitting there like trying to calculate all that. Like, I haven't gotten to that point.
No.
Which actually leads me to my next question is like, as someone just starting, let's say like they're doing 1, 2, 1, 3, how should somebody go about building their bankroll? Should they play tournaments, cash, like?
So that's the end of the first part of the podcast. If you want to check out the second part of the podcast, head over to Myles' YouTube channel.